Hi everyone! Before we start, just wanted to say I'm streaming Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the next 12 hours. Check out my stream on YouTube or Twitch, whatever you'd like. Now that I've outdated the video right away, let's get it started! Yay! There are a lot of random Kirby facts out there, but one of the most random ones that I know of comes from multiple interviews, actually, of Kumizaki and the HAL devs talking about how much they don't like hurting Kirby. I think my favorite of all of these comes from a Forgotten Land interview with one of Nintendo EAD's coordinators, Kei Ninayama, who noted that Nintendo had to repeatedly ask them to include more enemies in the game. The reason why they had to keep asking literally is because the devs just hate hurting Kirby that much. In that very same interview, mind you, one of the HAL devs confirmed it, quoting that interview. They weren't joking. Everyone on our development staff really loves Kirby, so no one wanted to torment him with an unfair situation. Okay, so I know this is translated. These specifics of the words don't matter as much as the point they're getting across, but choosing the word torment, that cracks me up. That's so funny. Oh no, Kirby suffered a mild inconvenience. How dare you torture our baby! Anyways, I bring this all up because my wonderful patrons on Patreon have chosen the video for the month of February. Did they choose Kirby torture? No, but trust me, this will all be relevant soon enough. Ooh, the suspense. Specifically, they asked for a challenge run for Kirby's Blowout Blast and left the rest of the specifics to me. That's a scary thing to do, not only because puppy, but also because challenge runs get kind of insane. Before becoming a speed pup, I actually used to focus on doing challenge runs and not speed running. Oh wow, you know, this actually really takes me back. Oh, when was the last one that I uploaded? Oh my god, almost 3 years ago? Whew, needless to say, it's been a minute, but before we get into things, probably figure based on the title of the video, you know what we're dealing with. Kirby's Blowout Blast, no attacking, no pressing the B button, all that good stuff. Kirby's Blowout Blast is divided into individual levels, and as we clear the levels, I'll be tracking our success with the following criteria. Are we able to clear the level? And if so, what kind of medal do we get? Is the level possible, but the battles at the end with enemies not possible? Are we not able to clear the levels, but as it turns out, the battles at the end are something that we are able to do? And lastly, worst of all, we can't do either. Personally, my goal is to get as many bronze medals as I can. Gold is impossible. I'm not even going to try for that one. And silver is nice, but if we could get bronze, that'd be pretty good. This also means that the EX stages just can't be unlocked, which, hey, that's less stress for me. Score a 1 for the pup over here. It is also being me, though. I thought it would be super fun to try and do a pseudo speedrun of the game this way. I didn't time myself with RTA or live split or anything like that. This took me over 6 hours to record, but I will be tracking with IGT in game time and revealing how long the run took at the end of the video. Basically, I'll be taking the amount of time the game gives you to finish a level, subtracting the final time that I had left over, taking the seconds that I had left there, adding them all together, getting that time. So, if you want to see that, stay tuned until the end of the video. Give me all that watch time. If you've played Blowout Blast for more than 5 seconds, you're probably wondering, how is this even possible? But before we do that, I have to bring up one more time that this video was chosen by my wonderful and funderful patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help choose a video idea for March, or just feel like helping me out, consider checking out my Patreon in the description. You also get neat perks, such as early access to all videos. Special thanks go to my head-patting Fluffle fan patrons, Biohazard, Tyke, the serval that likes strawberry Pop-Tarts, Lydia Scribe, Vilafar, and remember, Miss K says, "Please, you have to help me, they're onto me, I'm being hunted. Kirby is going to consume me and turn me in." I love you all. Oh, also like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it, please. It super helps me out. Also, let me know how much of the game you think we can get clear in the comments. Finally, we're ready to start! Getting things on a good note, the first level of the game is possible to clear without pressing B. Very good. But how did the mad pup do it? Okay, so in most video games, when you get hurt, there's a small period where you don't take damage. We call this invulnerability, or invul for short. But Kirby takes this a step further and actually deals damage to enemies during this invul period. I'm sure you figured out already, this is how we're going to do it. Everything is explained. The funny interview at the start, how we're even gonna do this, the Patrick! It all adds up. The only problem with doing this is that the amount of time you're a living pacifistic weapon for is very short, only lasting a few seconds. You can see Kirby is kind of flashing. That indicates when they have invul. This won't be a problem for now, but it does mean that we need to hurry and properly plan, route, and have great execution while we're playing. Yes, it actually just makes this a genuine pseudo speedrun. I did make another speedrunning video after all. Wah-hee-hee-har-ho. Anyway, 1-2 isn't particularly hard, but it is very close. We wind up with only 1 hit point left at the end. The only thing really worth noting here is that it introduces us properly to enemy gauntlets. Viewers, enemy gauntlet, viewers. Shake hands and get along. And these make this challenge really annoying for all of the reasons that you'd expect, but the biggest one by far is that every single level ends with a gauntlet. Our only method of dealing damage to enemies is by taking hits, which costs us health. If we don't have enough health for the final batch of enemies, we can't win. Again, this level is a perfect example of why that's so hard. If we mess this up once, that's game over. And this line of Waddle Dees right here is insanely tight due to how little time we have. When Kirby stops flashing after getting hit, that invul is entirely gone until we get hit and lose health again. So you can see how super close this all is. Thankfully, I'm in a big pup, so we pulled it off. And we even got a silver medal. Spoilers, this is the last silver medal we're gonna get. Boo. 1-3 is a nice middle ground between 1-1 and 1-2. The enemy gauntlets are tough, but nothing as hard as the Waddle Dees from last time. The execution is pretty light, but we have to get hit a lot, so just don't mess up and everything will be fine. Also, I don't know how, but I knocked out this one enemy in a single hit when they normally take 2, so time save? Anyways, moving on to the next level, 1-4 seems to go fine at the start, nothing too bad, and that's a boss. Nope, you cannot hurt bosses in any way, shape, or form without pressing B in this game. There's no big brain magic trick for this, you just can't. So, you all may not like this, in fact, you may scorn Puppy for this, but I'm not counting the boss levels, just the regular levels. For what it's worth, until you actually get to the boss themselves in every instance, you don't actually need to press B, so there's something. With that in mind, we kind of have a 100% win rate so far. Very good. Boss aside, World 1 is absolutely start to finish possible to clear B-list. 3 of the 3 levels, 100%, that is excellent. World 2, based on Float Islands, gets a lot harder right off the bat with 2-1. This level has a lot of enemies, although on the bright side, it does give us food. Finally, some good poppin' food. That was a horrible, what was that? While the exact numbers are hard to say, a good rough estimate is that food gives us 2 or 3 extra hits. That's a lot to work with for a run like this, so we need to take advantage of it as best as we can. Unfortunately, the first enemy gauntlet requires 2 hits minimum, and I was never able to clear it without taking 3. The timing on hitting these glunks, glunks, that's what they're called, and then the squishy, that's also what they're called, is too tight. But, assuming that we can get those 2 hits, we'd still need to take several in the second gauntlet. The positioning of the squishy here is just awful, and similar to that first one, the best I was able to get is 1 hit off of what would be a perfect run. So I could save 2 hit points worth of health, that's neat, but then the final enemy gauntlet happened, and there's just so many enemies here. Unfortunately, it would require 5 hits at this point for a perfect clear. Our best friend Math is here to say that, unfortunately, 5, which is the amount of extra hit we need, minus 2, the amount of hits that we can afford to take, equals 3, which is a number greater than 0. Ergo, 2-1 is not possible. Even in a perfect world, we'd still need to save 3 hits, which, I'm sorry, isn't something that we can do. I tried this for almost a half hour and had no luck, even with the first gauntlet, so yeah. On the bright side, despite what my very not epic footage is showing you, swallowing enemies in this game is a thing that we can do. So for every group of enemies, all we have to do is press one of the shoulder buttons after we hit B. But on the bright side, it's only one additional B press. We don't have to hit it again to spit out the enemies. Okay, that was a mouthful, and not a mouthful mode though, ha 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 ha. Maybe the next level will be easier. Maybe? No? Well, before jumping the gun, let's actually see if this is possible. And I'll just say, if this is possible at all, it is entirely because of the first enemy gauntlet. Literally, you can just run to this corner and spam crouch and not have to worry about getting hit. Well, okay, you don't have to spam crouch, but like, come on. Are you really alive if you're not spamming crouch while you're playing a Kirby game? Anyways, the second gauntlet brings on one of the hardest things about this run. Hitboxes. Hitboxes in this game are insanely annoying, with so many enemies being way too hard to hit, especially enemies like Squishy that bounce. Having to hit them and do it quickly so that you don't lose your invul is insanely annoying, but at the very least, you can get through the enemy gauntlet with health remaining. This just leaves the final one at the end, and yeah, more annoying jumping Squishy. That's a riot, but oh, we actually have enough health left over to win. We did it! Oh man, once 2-1 was a no-go, I was getting real worried that this whole thing was gonna be some kind of fail run, but no, here we are. And then I got to 2-3 and things got so much worse. So much worse. Remember what I was saying about squishies earlier? I'd be surprised if you didn't, given how much I talked about them. Also how I just randomly started saying it like Kirby's Avalanche, but like, it's funny. But what if they were always in the air and just barely off the ground, meaning you had to jump if you wanted to hit them? Ladies and gentlemen, others, I introduce you all to the Scarfies. Annoying in the base game, annoying in this run. At least they're consistent. As evidenced by all of the failed attempts that you're seeing in the background, the other enemy gauntlets aren't looking too hot either. Lots of hits, Kirby needs to find more health, Amazing Me or Squeak Squad style. Things are looking dire. I was legitimately ready to give up until a miracle happened. I knocked out the Squishy in the second enemy gauntlet before taking out the Scarfies, and then, I won't lie, I started resting my eyes because I was recording this at midnight, I'm sorry, but the Scarfies decided that they were bored of my run and vanished. Poof! I couldn't believe it, but when you think about it, this does make sense. You can't inhale Scarfies, so if you have no way to actually attack them, it wouldn't be fair to keep them around. Honestly, it's a really neat design choice. Blowout Blast is honestly filled to the brim with those, but what it means for us right now is that I now have a sense of reinvigorated hope. So with that in mind, I tried the stage again, a hopeful puppy growing into a refined dog when the first Scarfie didn't disappear. What gives? See, there may be no enemies on the screen to hit the Scarfie with, but there sure are blocks hanging around. And the only way you can destroy blocks in this game is to inhale them by hitting the B button. I've mentioned no killing enemies a couple of times. It's just kind of a funny little shindig I'm doing to get the whole no B button challenge idea across. If this was just a pacifist run, I destroy these blocks and everybody they love. But as it stands, I can't do anything about them. So the first enemy gauntlet is unchanged. But the second, now we're talking. We take way less damage knowing what we know now with the Scarfies, and while I haven't talked about it since we haven't even gotten there, the final enemy gauntlet only requires 1 or 2 hits. It's very light on necessary, combat, sure, let's call it that. Factoring in the 2 food heals we get after beating the second gauntlet, we make it to the final and are short by 1 hit. 1 hit? Seriously? Come on, after everything, Float Island still won't give up. No, there has to be a way. Call me stubborn, call me annoyed, call me the cutest puppy you've ever seen. There has to be a way. Well, not on the final gauntlet, that one's actually pretty self-explanatory, not much else we can do there. But maybe we can go back to the first gauntlet. There are 2 glunks here that look like they can be hit with the invul carried over from a Scarfie. No, they take too long to spawn and their hitboxes are too small. And maybe if we could inhale enemies and become big, chunky curb. But at that point, why not just inhale the glunks? Adoy. There's really nothing else that we can do here to save a hit. I've got this pretty much perfectly optimized, which leaves the second gauntlet again. Okay, this is where our first miracle happened. Can we get another one to happen? I really don't know. The enemies here are all so far apart. Timing the hits on them would just be impossible. Wait. Play that back. I'm not editing it, so I'm going to read the script again. The enemies here are so far apart. Timing hits on them would be impossible. Too far apart. These glunks spawn literally right next to each other. I know the hitboxes in this game are dumb and small, and did I mention that they're dumb? But can I hit both at the same time by chance? Let's try it out. Oh my god, you can! Okay. Red alert, it's happening, you guys. Okay, since I can book it right to these other two glunks, by any chance, can I, please tell me, can I reach them? Oh my god, I can! Oh my god, gamers, we just saved that final hit. Oh my god, we can do this, we can actually do this. Okay, don't choke on this final bit at the end, don't do it, don't choke. Come on. I'm pretending that I'm watching this. I've already done it, so I know the answer, but I'm trying to remember the excitement. I'm sweating, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm gonna choke this, we're gonna have to do it over again. It's done. We did it. We did it! I can't believe it! Of course, the boss is an accident. We can't do anything about that. Who cares? But 2-3, 0 P crest is required. I spent way too much time on this, so I won't say anything else, but our stats heading into World 3, Castle Lolo, are 5 out of 6 levels cleared without pressing B, an 83% win rate, and only 3 B button presses required. Given everything that we've been through, honestly, I'll take it. Now that we're on World 3, you'd assume things get harder, right? No, absolutely not. Blowout Islands was brutal. Castle Lolo is a lot more about being tricky and changing up the formula than actually being hard. Case in point, before any enemy gauntlets, the game gives us our one and only food heal for the entirety of 3-1. Even in regular play, that is quite the troll move. Anyway, on the first gauntlet, Ruffs charge at us, but they're harmless and will keep moving until they despawn. These Bronto Birds right after were very tricky to get right though, since they're all airborne, but if you're insane, you only need to take 2 hits. I was only ever able to clear it with 3, but we'll come back to this if that's a problem later. In the second gauntlet, right, before I get there, I should probably explain what happens in between gauntlets. There are enemies to beat, dodge in our case, and coins to collect, platforming to do, yada yada, but nothing that requires us to press B. Ever. Unless you're forced to fight, you don't have to normally press B anyway, which is really good for us. I'm not going to mention them anymore because of this, unless there's randomly a mini-boss at the start of exactly one of these levels that you need to press B for! But I doubt that would happen. Anyway, neither of the following gauntlets are hard at all, only requiring 3 additional hits, which we have just enough health for. If we didn't, we had a Bronto Bird hit to spare, so all is well for 3-1. 3-2, on the other hand, was so easy that I did it on my first try. But I said, nah, if it's that easy, I want to optimize it. I'm a speed puppy. So I spent like 20 minutes optimizing it, and yeah, I sure did optimize it, I guess. Bouncies are annoying because they jump and have like really small hitboxes. What else is new? That's it, moving on. 3-3 was very interesting, actually. It's probably my favorite level in this entire run, aside from 2-3. Just never topping the emotions that I felt there. But what I love so much about 3-3, though, is that while going fast was useful in previous levels, here it's actually necessary. See, there are these Nerfs that charge at you. Take a shot every time I say that, if you can drink. But there are also Nerfs right behind you that we can't take out because, you know, health. Kirby's gotta stay healthy. Anyway, if you get there really fast, the Nerfs charge by, and you can live your life with pride and no damage being taken. But if you're slow, the Nerfs have a high chance of bumping into another Nerf. Thankfully, this doesn't cause the craziest Nerf revolution of our time, but they'll do one of 2 things. they'll either turn around and charge back at you, which can be annoying, or, more hilariously, get stuck moving side to side and bumping into the other Nuff. For the sake of this run, this is a soft lock and you have no choice but to start over. Genuinely incredible. The second gauntlet here is nothing to write home about. You only need to hit one Waddle Dee, but the final gauntlet is really hard. Probably the hardest gauntlet so far, but in a fun way. The Waddle Dees are largely not an issue, but the Nuffs are really far apart and hard to effectively take out. It's possible, but since we did such a good job with that first gauntlet, we can actually get hit twice for each of the Nuff encounters and still make it to the end with 1 hit point left. There's a lot I could say about how this only worked because of speedrunning, but I have like, I don't know, every other video on this channel to talk about that, so like and subscribe. Just saying. 3-4 is not only possible, but also the funniest level in the entire game, at least for the sake of this run. The whole thing is an absolute joke, with one exception: that is the hardest part of the entire game. This harmless looking arena here with the Waddle Dee and the bouncy, the perspective, it makes it really hard to properly hit the bouncies, who are already a total nightmare to hit because of their really small hitboxes. As if that wasn't enough, they have Waddle Dee friends that you need to take out too, and they aren't in the small little pit like the bouncies are, which means you gotta jump to take out the Waddle Dees or drop to take out the bouncies, both of which are super slow because jumping and dropping are super slow. The worst part is you actually need to do one of these 2 bouncy bits perfectly, and then, of course, do the rest perfectly, since you get no food prior to this. And then immediately get a food spawn as soon as you're done. I respect that troll, Hal. I mean, I love and respect Hal to begin with, they're great, but I really respect that troll. The rest of the level, absolute joke. Level after that, boss, blah, blah, blah. World 3 is over! And with no B button presses. Wow, we are doing way better than I thought we would. Shame about 2-1, but with 9 out of 10 levels completed, that is a 90% win record. And we still only have 3 button presses. That's crazy. Bubbly Clouds, unfortunately, also wound up being really tough. And not quite as difficult as Float Islands, but similar to that, the first level is impossible without pressing B. Only 2 B button presses this time, so it's not quite as bad, but there's a similar issue of not having enough healing and there just being too many enemies. It's a shame too, because we're really close to the end, but it isn't one single hit that we need, so I can deal with it. No, and it doesn't help that there is 5 enemy gauntlets here, excuse me! 4-2 was really hard to get right, but it was really fun in the best kind of way too. The first gauntlet is very non-traditional, with Waddle Dee spawning over time as bouncies bounce on the stage. If you float, you can actually bait all of the Waddle Dees into this pit over here and kill them that way. Or maybe they don't die. Maybe they just disappear and are teleported somewhere safe, a higher plane of existence where every pleasure known to Dee can be served at their every whim and pleasure. I don't know, I'm just a pup, but I got really specific with the rule set here and decided that even when hitting the ground without hitting B, air puffing had the spirit of hitting B, so I didn't allow it and just took an extra hit. I'd still need to hit the bounties either way, so it's not like we were doing this damageless anyway. And not much else to say here until the final gauntlet, which is hilarious as these Waddle Dee just kind of dogpile on you. Taking them out is no problem, and even this little fellow goes down without much of a fight. You can actually float at the edge and bait him to fall to his death. And since the course naturally ends and I fall into a bottomless pit, Kirby never lets out an air puff, so my rules aren't broken either. Yeah, that's it. I got bored of baiting them. It's kind of ended things normally. What are you gonna do? 4-3 is predominantly made up of Mumbo enemies, which, newsflash, they're just like Scarfies, including the fact that they disappear if you can't hurt them. So this level was easy, albeit quite silly at how little there is for you to do until the very end. The end got kind of close, but it wasn't anything crazy. 4-4 was absolutely what I'd call crazy, and for one simple reason. I did it damageless! I still only got bronze. It wound up being insanely slow, and there aren't a lot of coins to collect, but seeing no damage in a run that is all about not taking damage is hilarious to me. And then 4-5 is a boss, you know the drill. Although Krako is my favorite boss in this game, so there is that. Krakow EX especially, puppy chef's kiss. Genuine 10 out of 10 boss fight right there. But in this universe, the EX bosses don't exist, so we move on to level 5 with a clear rate of 12 out of 14 levels, around 86%. The 5 B button presses so far, which I want that lower, but this isn't half bad. Level 5 is awful. But first, have you ever wondered what I smell like? Hey, don't click off the video, I promise this isn't anything weird. I'm just saying, if you want to know my scent, I have a candle. It is called the Vanilla Fluffle Scented Candle, and I think it came out really, really well. At the checkout, you can either decide to get a normal candle or one with a wooden wick if you like to hear that crackling sound. I don't think that's it, but that's the sound that I wanted to make in the moment. Not only is this website a trusted source, and you can have a little more Fluffle in the house, and if you use the link in the description down there, you will also be supporting me for no extra cost. Thank you very much again to Candle for this opportunity. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, I just wanted to let you guys know I have a candle now. Now, on with the video! Right off the bat, there's something I alluded to earlier that stinks just as much now as it did then. A mini-boss fight. Masher, as he's eloquently named, takes 2 hits to knock out, but unlike earlier, you have to press B to inhale the star, and B again to spit it out. If you inhale both stars at the same time, it doesn't work. It only takes 2 hits to knock out Masher, so I thought maybe, just maybe I could get away with that, and nope. So that's 4 B button presses right there. Wonderful! The rest of the level is fine for B presses, except not really, because you don't have enough health to survive the final gauntlet. You can get the first 2 Waddle Dee waves okay, but as soon as the Waddle Dees and the chips show up, Kirby is done for! Same with the wave directly after. Thankfully, you can just avoid the bats that swoop in afterwards, but ignoring Masher, there's an additional 4 B button presses thanks to this gauntlet. There's no real room to save on hits or health either, meaning this one level right here has 8 B button presses we can't avoid. Yikes. 5-2 starts super fun actually, as you can do this first enemy gauntlet damageless, but the Kaboo pile up really fast. Jumping over them and not getting hit, genuine thrill ride. Unfortunately, the second one requires we take a lot of hits, and even have these annoying squishy to deal with to make things worse. In theory, I feel like you can get through this only getting hit once. Unfortunately, the second one requires we take a lot of hits, and even have these annoying squishy to deal with to make things worse. In theory, you can get through the squishy by only getting hit once, but the best I was ever able to do was twice. Usually, I got hit 3 times, but I count my victories, however small. When we get to the final gauntlet, unfortunately, we just don't have enough health to tank all of these hits. The Kaboo at the end sure look promising, given they normally offstage themselves, but no they don't, and actually require multiple hits due to how far apart they are from each other. I didn't even come close to this in the footage, but I mathed it all out, and if we do it perfectly, we're still short 1 hit. Everything perfect, and we're still short. That being said, while I'm confident with everything else that I've said in this video so far, this is the one part where I wouldn't really be surprised if I was proven wrong. Between the second gauntlet squishy and the potential with the Kaboo bouncy situation, I could definitely see something insane saving this. But for now, that's 1 B button press. Now, I'm definitely using that press on the squishy. They're annoying. 5-3 is funny for having an actual level that's kinda tricky. Obviously, it's possible, but the enemy gauntlet isn't the only scary part this time. Finally! Well, actually, let me not say finally, let me not jinx anything like that. The actual gauntlets themselves are pretty mixed. The first one is tough and requires some good precision, but the second and final are mostly damageless. Just hit some Waddle Dees and watch the Nerfs jump to their freedom, or death, choose between anarchy and capitalism. See, I can make these kind of jokes if I mask them behind Twitch Plays Pokemon. Anyway, 5-4 is super fun. The first gauntlet in particular is insanely close, and the one time I can actually say I'm happy this game has such small hitboxes on enemies. I did need to get hit once to win, but that won't be a problem, right? like, never has up to this point, so I'm sure it'll be fine. The second is less surprising, only requiring 1 hit in order to clear. And then the third one requires 2. Uh-oh, is that a pattern I'm noticing? There's no more food, are we gonna be okay? Well, this is the final challenge of the whole run, so let's make it interesting. A lot of this you can thankfully avoid, albeit the spacing is really tough, and you can easily get hit if you aren't careful. Thankfully, I've been playing this for over 6 hours at this point. My spacing is just about as good as it's gonna get. And we're still 1 hit short. Spoilers, this is the final batch of enemies that you need to worry about, and we're 1 hit short. I'm going to scream. Actually, before getting all that dramatic, didn't I say I could try to save a hit in that first enemy gauntlet? Let's see. Just put Kirby here, take a second, do a little micro dash, and jump. Hey, what do you know? We can do that first gauntlet damage list. Awesome. All right, well, everything else from there I've already explained, so there you have it. 5-4 is 0 button presses. Boss next, who cares? Run over. Despite that great finish, our numbers took a huge nosedive. We went from an 86% win rate to a 14 out of 18 clear rate, which is only 78%. Granted, if a miracle happens and someone discovers a strat for 5-2, we'd go to 83. I'm sticking with 78 for now since I don't actually think it's possible, but I would love to be proven wrong. Unfortunately, we also go from only 5 B button presses to 14. Yuck. But in fairness, did you really even think that any of these levels were going to be doable? Because I sure didn't. To be honest, this whole experience really made me look out Blowout Blast in a whole new way. The game is all about making split-second decisions and strategizing which opponents you'll beat in what order, and yeah, when playing like this, you're still doing that. It's insane to me that, despite how different this all is in execution, the core essence of what makes Kirby's Blowout Blast still carries over, even when you take out the literal core concept of it. It's a really well-made game, and despite my frustrations, 5-1 in particular really hurt. That late into the run, I was not happy about having to throw away that many B presses. We only lost in 4 levels. 4 levels! Out of 18. That's actually insane, with the potential to lower that to 15. Or erase it. I don't know. English is weird. I'm leaving this video satisfied. Fully happy, maybe not, but at the very least, I'm satisfied, and hopefully you are too. And with that, wow, it's been so long since I've done a challenge run. These are super fun to do, but they take so much energy to make. I need a breather after that one, let me tell ya. Oh well, my puptrons wanted it, so I am very happy to deliver. With all of that, I think we are done here. So, right, of course, the IGT. I did say I was gonna pseudo speedrun this after all. Okay, so to measure the final time, like I said before, I took how long a level was, subtracted the final time of each level from that, turned it into seconds, and added everything together from there. Simple enough. And with all of that, if we exclude load times, hub worlds, and bosses, we have that final time of, drumroll please, 27.76 minutes. You know I didn't just say 27 and a half because 776 was in there. I love Fire Emblem. That's actually insane though. I can't believe I actually did it in under a half hour, especially because I recorded this for over 6 hours. That's how many failed attempts there was. God, this challenge was so hard. If you can clear this faster while only pressing the B button 15 times, scratch that, it's 14, but I'll give you some wiggle room. More power to you, my friend. But for now, I'll be off to stream Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for 12 hours. Woo! I've been Klaire. Thank you all so much for watching. And go watch that stream. Bye!